I'm excited to share with you about knotweed. This has been the main plant that I have worked with in the past couple years, and so this is the first time that I have taught about it and really shared about it. And it is one that I have formed this intimate relationship with more recently, and a medicine that I find so essential right now to what is happening on Earth and what humanity needs to grow and evolve during these times of transition. So you can see in the background a photo of the knotweed plant. This is the aerial part of the plant, that it creates this like jungle-like atmosphere. And you'll see more pictures in a moment, but that'll just give you an idea of the essence of the knotweed plant. And so here is its Latin name, Polygonum cuspidatum, and there are actually many other varieties, but that is the Japanese knotweed. Okay. So knotweed is a part of the buckwheat family. And some other plants in that family are rhubarb, sorrel, and yellow dock. So in the resource section, there is a link to a Botany in a Day website that is an excellent book, but this is a link that you can click to go to the website that shows a outline of buckwheat family plants. There's an excellent resource, and it allows you to see the similarities between all the plants, or it doesn't have all of them, but for a good amount of the plants that are in the buckwheat family. And this helps you to begin learning how to categorize and understand the different families of the plant kingdom. So you can go check that out, and you might get inspired to go deeper into the botany point of view of plants. So knotweed is an invasive from Asia. It originates from like the Japan, China, Korea, like that area of the world, and it is an invasive that takes over the landscape quickly, just like kudzu, honeysuckle. You can relate knotweed to these other plants. Bamboo is another one that have implanted themselves into the landscape here. I live here in North America. It can be in wherever you live as well, because it has spread all over the world. And so we're going to explore what this means as an invasive in a little bit. Now, knotweed likes to grow on stream and creek banks that need support. So this is preventing, like the knotweed grows where the creek banks are in like a fragile situation where they need the added support from the root system of plants. And so knotweed comes in and grows along these creek banks to give support to the banks so that they don't wash away. Knotweed also likes to grow in neglected areas, so wastelands, places that are pretty barren and don't have a lot growing there. Knotweed also tends to grow along the border areas of yards and such, because these are the places that are not constantly mowed, and so it gives knotweed an opportunity to set root and grow. So all parts of knotweed can be used as food and medicine. It's an extremely beneficial plant. And yes, this is one of my opinions that knotweed is one of the most potent and important medicines of the times. Now, I don't think it's the only or the most important medicine. I think there are others that are just as important, but knotweed has a big place right now in what humanity needs. And that's why it's growing all over. So we're going to explore a little bit about what invasives can teach us before we get deeper into the specifics of knotweed. So invasives teach us that the medicine you need the most grows near you. This is an important concept that we humans are working to grasp, is that we don't need to go so far outside of ourselves to find what we need. We are provided for right where we're at. The earth gives to us what we need to be well, to heal, and to grow, and to be supported. And so the invasive plants teach us this in a way because they were plants that did not used to grow here. And they, all of a sudden pop up and begin to grow all over. And this is a sign from the earth that it is a plant that we need right now. So if you see knotweed growing all around you, it's a signal that this plant can teach you something, that this plant has something to offer you. Same with other invasives, and really this applies to all plants and even beyond plants, into all things. This belief that what you need is with you, and that you don't need to go too far searching for it. So this medicine, that what you grows near you, also provides for us the ability to refrain from so much purchasing from far away. So this is like getting your herbs from your local herbalist, especially who grows them, or growing them yourself, or wild foraging what is around you, instead of immediately reaching for the, pushing the buy button to order something that has to be shipped across the world. So this is a lesson that we can learn. So the invasive plants also teach us about quick growth, strong resiliency, and vitality. Invasives are invasive because they take over quickly before they can be stopped or controlled. So they teach us this quick growth, and they usually grow in areas that are lacking in nutrients, so other plants don't grow there, and they grow in places that do not have a lush and vital environment. And so the invasives, they come to strengthen the ecosystem and to provide this vitality when there was none. And so invasives are very resilient in this way. They can grow almost anywhere. And these qualities, when we work with invasive plants, whether ingesting or even just in contemplation and getting to know them through relationship, they can transmit these qualities to us. So they can help us learn how to grow quickly in this time when so much transition and change is happening, so that we can keep up with all the changes. They can teach us to be strong and resilient, and teach us how to access our vitality. So this is a little play on the quick growth, but these lessons in expansion and quick shifts. Invasives take over, they expand their area that they grow in and shift the terrain quickly. So again, we can work with these invasive plants and the gifts they have to offer us in teaching us these lessons, in being able to expand and shift with everything that is happening in the world. So here's a little phrase that I chose to add. What seems to be one side of the coin may just be the other side of the same coin. And so this lesson that invasives can teach us is similar to, it's not always what it first seems. So we can look at the invasive plant that has taken over a hillside and we can say, oh, that plant, it takes over, it grows too quickly, it's taken all the land, we need to eliminate it, we need to stop it. This is taking a lot of work to try to overcome this invasive plant that has taken over. So that's one side of the coin, is that the invasives have come as almost like intruders that need to go away, like immigrants. You know, it's similar to that mindset that people from another country should not be allowed to come live in your country. It's that mindset with invasive plants as well. But if we flip the coin over, we can see another perspective of the invasives. And that's the perspective of some of the beautiful lessons that they have to teach us, where, you know, the invasives maybe took over the hillside, but what are the plants really doing? They actually created this lush and healthy environment where there was just barren earth that had no life to it. So the invasives have these qualities that are regrowing the earth where humans have caused damage. The plants are helping us. These invasives are helping to regrow the earth into a wild jungle once more, because we need plants. We survive with plants. All right, so let's get into the medicine of knotweed. In this picture, you'll see a knotweed shoot. So this is the brand new spring growth shooting up from the earth. And you can look at the colors and see that there's the bright, vibrant light green and red. So these are the colors of the fresh, new knotweed. So you can eat the shoots, they're edible. They have a tangy, lemony taste similar to rhubarb. And remember, rhubarb and knotweed are in the same family, the buckwheat family, and they do have a similar taste. And so you can use knotweed interchangeably with recipes that call for rhubarb. You want to harvest and eat knotweed shoots in early spring before they are a foot tall. So knotweed grows extremely quickly. So there's a short window when these shoots are ideally edible. And so this is in early spring. And what happens is once they get taller than a foot, it's not that they will harm you if you eat them. It's just that they're harder and thicker and more fibrous. And so they're not as tasty and not as easily to digest. So if you do harvest them when they're more than a foot tall, you may have to peel the outside, and it doesn't leave you with very much of the vegetable to eat. But if you harvest them under a foot, they are easy to prepare. And the best method is to puree the knotweed, especially with a fruit such as apples or pears. Combines really well with the flavor of the knotweed, kind of like mellows it out and also adds a little sweetness to it. And the knotweed shoots are especially good in desserty type dishes as well as baked things. So here's a knotweed harvest. So all these shoots that I harvested were about like 3 to 6 inches, probably, possibly a little bit taller. But you can see here in the picture, you can get a good idea of how the knotweed grows. You can see the joints there where the leaves grow out of. You can get a good look at the leaf veins. And you can see the colors on the knotweed, how the stalks have the green with the red speckles. So all of this, how the knotweed looks, gives us clues as to its medicine that it has to offer us. Knotweed grows very quickly. It is amazing how quickly knotweed grows. It can grow inches in a day. The picture right here of these shoots, I took them, let's see, this picture here of these shoots, 3 or 4 days before I took this picture, those shoots were just popping out of the ground. So that's how quickly they grew in like 3 or 4 days. So they are extremely quick growers. Once summertime comes, they just keep growing and growing up over your head. So they get taller than people. As long as you're harvesting them when they're young, they're easy to harvest. You can easily cut them with scissors at the base of the stalk to take them home to prep for food. So here I am washing the knotweed in the sink. And an important little bit of information is that you want to be careful where you are harvesting your plants. And so you don't want to harvest knotweed on a road that has a lot of cars driving on it, or where it potentially could have been sprayed. If you're unsure, it's always best to just assume it's been sprayed, especially if it's like on a roadside or in another public area, because the toxins on the plant will most likely cause more harm than the good of eating the plant. But do wash your harvest, and then you're going to strip the leaves off. So you can see in this picture I have the leaves. I'm in the process of stripping the leaves off, and I have them in a pile there. And what I like to do is I use the leaves in soups and stews. You don't want to use a whole bunch. It's not like nettle or spinach where you could just use handfuls and as much as you want. But they are delightful in soups and stews and hide very well to where you don't even know that there are wild foods in your food. And so you can toss a few handfuls of the leaves. I believe I chop them up a little bit so that they're smaller and just put them in the soup water to cook. And then you're going to cut the stalks into about 1-inch pieces and cook in a small amount of water and add in some apple or pear. That'll give it a sweeter flavor. Now you don't need a whole lot of water because as the knotweed is cooking, it will release the water that is inside of it. And so you really just need a small amount. And I do have links to more specific recipes with measurements and all in the resource section. But this is just a quick overview for you to be able to see all the parts of the plants. And even if you don't have access to knotweed and will not be able to cook it, you at least get to know the plant on a deeper level by seeing this process of transforming it into food. So you're going to cook that for about 20 minutes and then puree it in a blender. And you see that lovely green mush there. Now this puree you can freeze. So if you do have knotweed all around. You can make a lot of this puree in the springtime, and if you have freezer space, you can freeze it, and then you can just take it out through the year to make desserts and breads and things with, to add in this extra nutrition. Oh, one more thing, I also put the leaves in smoothies, and my children drink it. So you can do that with the leaves as well. This is the bread that I made with knotweed, and it uses the puree in it, so similar to banana bread. You can make cakes with knotweed. This one forager chef has lovely recipes that I have not tried yet, but there's knotweed sorbets and fruit leather, all kinds of things. So that's in the resource section, and I invite you to check that out. On to the roots. So in the pictures, you can see what the knotweed roots look like. This picture in the bottom right corner gives you a good idea of the inside of the root, how it's that yellow orangey looking color. And knotweed grows in a rhizome system, so its roots spread out, and every year they spread more and more and more. So you can kind of see the rhizome system in the top picture and in the bottom right picture a little bit. The outside of the root is a knotty brownish black color, and like I mentioned, the inside is the orange yellowy color. And then the buds sprout on top of the rhizome crown. So you can see that in the top right picture, the red bud-looking things popping off. Those are the new growth, the baby shoots that will grow up through the soil. And these hollow sticks, that is the old growth from the year before. So that's how thick the knotweed stalks will get. Root medicine. So here's a picture of a knotweed tincture that I made, and you can see it was in 2019. I left the roots in this tincture. I do that occasionally, and just pour off what I need when I need it. You want to harvest the roots in the spring and autumn for the most potent medicine for tincture. You can harvest them all throughout the spring, summer, and fall, possibly into the winter depending on where you're living. If you're making teas or syrup out of the medicine, which the syrup is really just a tea that has been reduced and a sweetener added to it. So the tea and syrup is the medicine with water, whereas the tincture would be the medicine with alcohol. And here we go. This is how you can use the root in tea, tincture, syrup, and a spirit essence. All plants you can use as a spirit essence, even poisonous ones, because with an essence you are only intaking the vibrational resonance of the plant, not any of the physical constituents. And so in next month's module, the vessel, you will be going in depth learning how to make tinctures, teas, syrups, and some other medicines. All right, let's get into the medicine of knotweed. So the energetics of knotweed are bitter and slightly cold. So knotweed has this cooling quality that can help you when you are determining what would be the most beneficial medicine. If it is a condition that has lots of heat, then knotweed would help to cool that condition off if there's excess heat. But if it's like a cold, damp condition, it would not be the best medicine. The meridians and organs that knotweed has an affinity for are the bladder and the small intestine. And I find that knotweed works in the body really as a whole, but these two organs do tend to be a very strong way that the knotweed medicine works. And what I gather from this is that knotweed helps in the elimination process. If you think about your bladder and the small intestine, these are the holders of our waste and are a part of the release and elimination process of our waste. And so knotweed, as a general, its medicine is to help the body release and eliminate. And what I have found is that this is in the physical body, being able to release things through the bladder and small intestine, but also in the emotional and the mental and the spiritual realm as well, helping us to release thought forms, release stuck emotions, release old belief systems. So knotweed all around is a good medicine for elimination, eliminating what does not serve you any longer. Here are some of the active constituents in knotweed. I'm not going to get into too much of those now. We'll get more into breaking apart what the different constituents do in a later moon cycle. I believe it is in the I don't know actually. I believe it is in the crystal moon cycle that we will explore plant constituents. But basically, silica brings in the life force information to our bodies. And okay, I'm not even going to go into that. So I am going to talk about this one constituent, resveratrol, because it is so relevant right now. And it is one of the flavonoids that's in knotweed. And knotweed has a pretty high amount of resveratrol in it. It is an antioxidant that is highly protective and antiviral. So what the flavonoids do, resveratrol being one of the flavonoids, is they are produced by the plant to protect the plant from external conditions, and especially the fruit, protecting the fruit so that the plant has the potential of, it's protecting the formation of its seeds so it can reproduce. And so these flavonoids are protective agents that will help the plant stay strong through molds, fungus, bacteria, viruses, mildew, environmental damage. And so when we are looking at how these constituents work in the body, we can look at how they are working in the plant to know what it will do for us. So since this resveratrol protects the plant against outside forces, then it can do that for us as well when we take it as medicine. So when you're eating knotweed, or if you're taking a tincture or a tea of knotweed, then you are giving yourself protection against viruses, fungus, and other outside forces. All right, knotweed. All right, so knotweed is one of the more well-known medicines for Lyme, and it works with other tick infections as well. I have personal experience with knotweed for a tick infection that I recently dealt with. I was bit by a tick last April and I began to take knotweed almost immediately because I muscle tested what I needed. I had a sense that the tick had infected me with something. So I started taking knotweed and some other herbs. Around June was a very stressful month for me. I was feeling better. I was not feeling any symptoms. I was moving again. And so I stopped taking the herbs regularly. It just kind of happened. And once I moved and settled in, I started noticing some pretty severe symptoms. I was feeling a lot of carpal tunnel and kind of like arthritic joint conditions in my arms and my shoulders, especially my wrist and elbow, all the way up through my shoulder. My hip felt really weak. I felt like that deteriorating feeling, which I speak about or I write about in the Knotweed written section that you can read about. So I felt I was having these hot flashes. It was very scary, and I tested positive for rickettsia, which is a tick infection. And I immediately, well, even before I got tested, I started taking my knotweed again, diligently and regularly. I took it 3 times a day, pretty large doses, and it did resolve itself. My symptoms went away, and I began to feel normal again. And even more than just the symptoms going away, my relationship with my body and my health has really come to a point where I can talk to the plant and my body and know like what it's really doing. And so through that process, I really learned a lot of, I guess you could say, like little secrets from knotweed that I hope can be beneficial for others. And we're going to get into that more in a little bit. But basically, what knotweed is doing is this elimination that we were talking about, where the knotweed is helping to break apart, like unravel the old thought forms and like what's stuck in your cells. So it's like breaking apart and allowing you to come to an understanding of what is working and what's not, and helping you find a way to release what you choose not to hold on to. So this was my experience with knotweed, is that energetically, the knotweed medicine allowed me to separate what was harming me from what my true structure and like foundation was, like what my true nature is. And so I could more easily with the knotweed separate out what was like an implant or something foreign that had come in that I no longer wanted, and find a pathway to release it. And this is especially true in the thoughts. I've found that knotweed also works in the mind and the nervous system, but it's more so in the energetic than in the physical, that it works on this like mental plane of helping the person who's taking the knotweed medicine to unravel these foreign thought forms that have served their purpose and now need to move on and eliminate them. Really important for these times because we are all going through the process of unraveling our thought forms. So knotweed supports the innate immune function to react to infection. And this is exactly what those flavonoids are doing in the plant to protect the fruit, is that it's supporting the plant's immune function to react when there is something that is infecting it. And so the plant does this for us as well. So it's a really great herb to take as an immune protectant and an antiviral. Here's some of the things that knotweed is also beneficial for: urinary infections, urinary stones, jaundice, mucus, bloody discharge, diarrhea, dysentery, bronchitis, and weeping eczema. So all these things pretty much have to do with elimination. With the urinary infections and urinary stones, like eliminating the infection. The weeping eczema, this is like an elimination process from your body. The bronchitis, you're like eliminating from your lungs. So again, knotweed, like the overall general essence of this medicine is helping us find ways to eliminate that which is causing us infection, that which is like infecting us. Here is a picture of knotweed growing up out of the, let's say it could be asphalt, but maybe it's not. I'm actually not quite sure, but I chose this picture. I didn't take this one, just so you can see how it spreads and how resilient and strong it is to grow anywhere. There's no other plants or anything around there. So that's how you can kind of see how knotweed spreads out. Here's a beautiful drawing that someone did that shows you an underground view of the root system. So you can see here how the roots all spread out. These are the rhizomes. You can see the interior of the root. And you can see how the little new sprouts kind of come out from all over on the root. And this is how it spreads and grows so quickly. Here is the picture of the knotweed jungle. So this is like midsummer's growth. Knotweed does get tall. It gets over people's heads, and it forms this like jungle-like sheet, like shade, that you can go sit under. It's actually quite nice. And I'm sure all the insects and bugs and animals love it as well, as the creek, when it grows over the creek, it provides shade for the water creatures. And here we have a picture of knotweed in flower. So you can see these little clusters of delicate white flowers. And if you do go to the resource page and go to the Botany in a Day buckwheat family page, you will observe that the other plants in the buckwheat family have flower clusters very similar to knotweed. So that's one of the similarities of the buckwheat family plants. So here are the dead knotweed stalks. They're taking over the landscape in fall and winter. So you can see them all falling over the creek and how thick the knotweed was. I have left them on the ground. Okay, knotweed's medicine gifts. So we're going to explore here kind of the more energetics that knotweed provides for us in its medicine gifts. So knotweed wildly takes over. It reestablishes the wildness of your mind and soul and brings you back to your true nature. So knotweed eliminates what is foreign and you no longer need. It like eliminates what is almost like an imposter in you, like it's not your true nature. It's like what you have been led to believe or forced to believe over your life. So it's like the social conditioning, childhood, what you have been told in childhood that no longer resonates and doesn't feel true to you. Knotweed helps you to eliminate that so that you can reestablish the wildness of your own true nature. This allows your like wild nature to take over again. Reprograms the cells of the mind. This is what we were talking about earlier, where knotweed helps you to separate the outdated thoughts that are no longer helping you. And these are like the thoughts and beliefs that have more so been inserted into you or like implanted into you. And this implantation can be as simple as, a parent or a teacher telling you something over and over again as a child that caused you to stop believing in yourself or have low self-esteem, or something along those lines, to where the knotweed helps you to extract and eliminate these thoughts that are no longer, they're not helping you any longer. They were inserted into you. They came from outside of you. They're not your truth. And so you get to say goodbye to those thoughts. And this creates space for the new thoughts and insights to come in and take over your mind in this really beautiful, wild, abundant, nourishing, flourishing, thriving way. So it's not these restrictive thoughts that are taking you away from who you really are, leading you to not have faith in yourself, not believe in yourself. And instead, you're creating the space, like the rich, fertile soil, for new thoughts to take over that come from your inner essence, your inner self. And then knotweed gets the knots out. This is what it's doing when it's separating out those thoughts. It's untangling, getting the knots out of the mind from societal conditioning that causes disharmony. So these are the medicine gifts that while I've been working with knotweed, and I work with the plants in this really intimate way in the energetic realm, this is what I've been seeing knotweed do, is getting these knots out, untangling our thought forms, and helping us to find pathways to eliminate the ones that we say no to, that we say, no, that is not something I want. And, we have a choice as individuals to decide what we are going to hold on to and what we let go of. It's different than if we are denying a part of ourselves. This is more having the inner authority and the inner governing to choose and know you have choice, that you're a sovereign being and you have the choice as to what you are going to believe, what you are going to spend your time thinking about, and what you choose not to. So knotweed is a medicine about reclaiming your true nature, reclaiming yourself, reestablishing your wildness, and choosing to be a sovereign, free being. So the knotweed's teaching us how to do this. Now, if you do not have knotweed nearby to work with, now the way that you can begin working with knotweed, if there is knotweed growing near you, the best way is to go sit with it. Go sit with this plant. Talk to it. Observe it. Ask it what it has to offer you, and ask it what you have to offer it. If you don't have knotweed growing around and you want to work with its medicine in a bottled form, you can contact me. I have lots of knotweed medicine, or another herbalist nearby you who might have some. The tincture is great, and you can also take the tincture in a spirit dose, which is like 1 or 2 drops where you're really just working with it in an energetic way rather than larger doses. And you can also work with the essence of knotweed as well if you can find that. If you don't have access to knotweed, the plant, or a bottled medicine, you can still work with this plant. You can work with any plant. Now we are living in a time where we can access the medicine of something throughout time and space. So we don't have to have it in the physical to access its medicine. So what I suggest for this process is to have a picture of the plant. So it could be in a book or on the computer, or you can print out a picture. Have a picture of the plant so that you can really get to know what it looks like, how it grows, and you're going to spend some time absorbing that in, absorbing in what the plant looks like and how it makes you feel when you look at it. And then you can close your eyes and do a meditation asking the plant to visit you. And then just be open to what comes. So you allow yourself to be an open invitation. You like open up the invitation for the plant to come visit you, and it will come inside of you and it will teach you. It will teach you these things that we just talked about, the medicine gifts. If you really sit with knotweed in your meditations, it will teach you how to reestablish the wildness of your mind. It'll teach you how to reprogram the cells of your mind and get all the knots out. So you don't have to have the plant in its physical form to work with its energetic medicine. Now, if you do struggle with symptoms from a tick illness, this is a more delicate situation to just be working with all different kinds of plants. So if you feel that you need extra support, I specifically work with tick illnesses, but more in the energetic realm. So I will do muscle testing to see what it is that your specific constitution needs, and also work with the energetic matrix of your body to remove the infection. So if you happen to be struggling with a tick illness, I firsthand know the struggle of that. Please reach out. And it was lovely sharing with you about this plant that is so dear to my heart. And I hope you all find knotweed to have some place in your life for you.